I mean, what a perfect song to bring in one of the best, right?
Oh, so you saying this would be Nate's theme music?
Well, I hope so. Maybe the newer one. This is original, right? Robert Walsh?
It's like an instrumental.
Yeah, well, this is
Yeah.
the instrumental, but yeah, it's Warren G.
Oh,
Regulate.
okay, so
Regulators!
this is one of my favorite
Mount
songs.
up.
Man. We'll have to ask this guy himself. Nate Washington, former Titans wide receiver, joining us now. Would this be one of your intros?
Hey, good morning, guys. How
What's
y'all
up?
doing?
I could totally see you in a long leather trench coat or in a fedora or something like that, just sliding in, Nate. No, not to this song.
Yeah, no, not to this song, man. But I often get tied to the late great Nate Dogg, man. It's a tremendous honor, but definitely not me. I'm not gonna be singing over no hook for you.
We are honored to be joined by you this morning. I'm going to start this off because we were talking to Titans Radio's Rhett Bryan, executive producer over there this week, and he was talking about you and on the all-time great list in terms of wide receivers, and he said specifically he remembers this one catch, September 23rd, 2012. You caught the ball over Lions' Jacob Lacey, taking it 71 yards for the touchdown. Obviously, you got to go and watch the actual catch, but is that one of the favorites in your career?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually think it may be number one. It's ironic because the only other catch that I had is the key word, is against Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, I made a huge catch, jumped up in the air, and was coming down. As soon as I was coming down, good old Troy Polamalu knocked it out of my hand. And that would probably have been the only play to trump it. But, yeah, the catch against the Lions probably would be my most recognized and the one that, a lot of the fans are reminisce over often. So that would probably be number one on my list.
We've been talking a lot this morning, if it is indeed Derrick Henry's final game in two-tone blue, like what favorite memories fans had or just in his terms of his career in general here in Tennessee. Nate, is it crazy to think this might be his last go-round here? And if so, what are you going to remember the most about King Henry?
Unfortunately, time and, as they say, father time, it's undefeated. All things come to an end at some point. I'm not sure if this is his last go-around with the Titans, but if it is, it's not surprising to me personally because, especially with, when you look at the position of running back in the league, it's not one of those positions where guys last, 8, 9, 10 years, unfortunately. It's an anomaly for guys to get that far along in their career and still be viewed as a pure asset for these teams. So for Derrick to do what he's done over the duration of time that he's done, it's incredible as a personal feat. The guy has been knocking on 2,000 yards, it seems like, every other season, and it has been able to reach that milestone in one of those seasons. So, it'll definitely be a memorable moment, not only for the fan base, but I'm sure for him as well. I can recall, when it was just inevitable to know that my time with the Titans was coming to the end. And, it was going to be time for me to either A, hang up the cleats or move on. And, it was hard for me personally. I had a lot of connections in Nashville. I had built a lot of friends. I, loved a lot of the community, and the community loved me. So a lot of that, was tied to a personal connection. So I'm sure it'll be hard for him. It'll be hard for the fan base. But, I think it's important also to go out with a bang, not to sulk, not to, reminisce or dwell on, the past or anything that's in the imminent future. And just try to do the best you can to close out this game on the standard that he wants to close it out on. I think ultimately, this is a guy that will forever be in the ring of honor of running backs for this organization, from Earl Campbell to Eddie to CJ and now the great Derrick Henry. I think this organization has done, an outstanding job of building a legacy of running backs here, and I'm sure he's glad to be a part of that. So it's a matter of honoring him and him honoring the fans on his way out, if that is the case.
Nate, I'm interested to get your perspective as a receiver that actually was on a roster that featured another great running back in Chris Johnson. You knew that the receiving game wasn't necessarily the pivotal part of that offense, and maybe more of it did run through a guy that was as stylistic and pretty impressionable as Chris Johnson. Just your perspective of being a guy that either had to block on the edge or be some sort of coup de main to a guy that was pretty much the feature of the offense.
Man, well, honestly, man, it was tough for me personally, man, because man, I was a route runner. You know what I'm saying? I literally, I came from Pittsburgh where we were required to be physical and block, and I would always do my job. But 2, 3 rundowns out of 4 for me wasn't always ideal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to rock early. I wanted to be able to touch the ball, but I knew a lot of times leading into some of those games, especially during his 2,000-yard season, that obviously Chris Johnson was going to be our number one option. As well do. This was something that, I finally come to a realization with the organization that that's how we were built as a team. So it wasn't about me having receptions or touching the ball first and getting early looks so I can get in a groove, because I knew a part of our scheme and a part of what we did best and how we were built as an offense and as a team. I knew that, run game was going to be first, so I had to put anything aside about pass catching or any of that in my mind and just give my best effort in the block game and the run game and blocking and doing those things that, may not always get noticed, but it was important for me to, go and do my job, man. I hated being that guy once you look on film, a big run breaks out, and maybe that DB from the backside or, a guy that you just kind of lackadaisical on end up making the play. And it's the worst feeling in the world, It's the worst feeling to see a guy break a 60-yard run and get tackled at the 5-yard line because it's your guy and you was just too lackadaisical or you didn't show enough effort or it didn't matter to you, So I never wanted to be that guy. I wanted to go out with pride as much as I possibly could and do my job to the best of my ability. And as you said, a lot of times my job was required to block for one of the greatest backs in our game, Chris Johnson, and that to this day makes me proud.
Yeah. George Pickens didn't care about his guy making a tackle, but either way, you mentioned your Pittsburgh days, your route running days as a Steeler. You got to really pretty much tip your hat to your career coming into the league in 2005 as an undrafted free agent to then, catch balls in an AFC championship game or two and pretty much make a name for yourself to get that free agency contract coming to Tennessee. What was that journey like?
Man, it was incredible. I tell a lot of people the best thing about my experience with that situation is the guys that I came into in that locker room my rookie year really helped me transition into understanding that it was a difference between a job and a career. I was so excited about the opportunity that I had leaving Tiffin University, getting in that locker room with those professional guys and being, in all honesty, a fan. Hines Ward, Ben Roethlisberger, Joey Porter, Jerome Bettis. I'm seeing these guys now on an everyday basis, whereas, just 6 months prior, I was on a campus of maybe 3,000 students. So it was a huge experience for me, a huge adjustment. But, as I stated, coming into that situation with my eyes wide open and my pen and pad ready to get autographs, those guys kind of reminded me like, hey, I know you're excited to be here. I know you're excited about the opportunity, but you must understand, dude, like you have a talent and this is not something that you need to take serious because, this is the way you can not only feed your family, but something that can help you retire and, live the rest of your days out. So, from day one, Jerome Bettis and Hines Ward, like I said, those veteran guys in that locker room made me understand that I wasn't just another guy on that roster, but an asset to that team, and something was in front of me that I could, that could really change my life. So it was a great opportunity for me, but it was also the luck of the draw to a sort, because I couldn't say that I would have had the same career if I would have went anywhere else first outside of Pittsburgh.
Nate Washington joining us this morning on RK Dub. Nate, I'm curious to get your perspective, because there has been a lot of talk, and this is what happens, obviously, when you have a losing season. You've got to put blame on someone, or, in terms of fans, like, you're going to find someone, right? Whether it be the quarterback or the head coach or the offensive line. And right now there is a lot kind of swirling around about Mike Vrabel. Is he happy here? Could he be on the move? I don't think that will happen. But do you feel, Nate, he's the right guy for the job moving forward?
Well, here's the thing. As a person, I definitely believe, Mike Vrabel is a great head coach. As I stated, I had the opportunity to play for him, with him, if you will, while he was coaching in Houston, and I was on that roster. And I had the opportunity to engage and interact with him on a daily basis. I've also interacted with him privately here now. It's been very rare, but privately, whether it's text, phone call here now since he's been the head coach with the Titans. And he's a very personable guy. I think, a lot of times head coaches can get into a phase where they just generalize their team and they just see guys, as a standard, and I'm not calling out anyone specific, but, generally a lot of these guys, coaches can get into a generalized standard of which they expect their team to look. And they don't see individual guys or the aid that these individual guys may need to understand that they are now professional football players. And there's only so many coaches that are going to be able to see guys individually. And I feel like Coach Vrabel is one of those guys. Now, schematically and, as far as scheme, as far as roster building, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if things will get better. Obviously, now we have a new GM in Rand. I'm looking forward to what he's able to do this next offseason. I don't know, structurally or organizational-wise, how much, Vrabel has even had influence over that in the past. So I'm not going to, knock him for, the inability to build a very competitive roster, in my opinion, is what's been lacking. So we'll see how those things pan out once this offseason comes. If, there is an influx of stronger roster opportunities, assets brought in, whether free agent, how this draft goes, and those things. Long story short to you, Caleb, I think he's a great guy, and I definitely think he deserves another opportunity. I think, a lot of times fans must also understand, although he may not be him, his whole life, his whole coaching mantra, even when he was in Houston, was built under one man, Bill Belichick. So he's not going to be the guy that comes up to the podium and clicks his heels and makes jokes and smiling all the time. He has a dry sense of humor. He has a very dry personality at times. And, it comes from a place, not like I said, not only was Bill Belichick like that, but Billy O was like that as well, Billy O'Brien. He was very dry, very, could be very sarcastic, but in my opinion, a very cool dude. Like he was my type of guy, didn't get overly excited, always was even keel, understood that. And I take Coach Vrabel as the same. I know this is kind of a long-winded explanation, but I just think Coach Vrabel is in a position right now that he may be on the hot seat, but I don't think it's time to get rid of him. He has a new GM. We'll see what Rand does this offseason and the opportunity he gives Vrabel with the roster that he builds. And I think that's just up to Rand and his job, and it's up to Coach Vrabel to do his job and make sure that his staff is prepared for next season.
Yeah, no, great perspective there. A different perspective as we've heard so many different people and opinions on that. So, Nate, when it comes to one of those positions, though, that they're going to have to add to, I mean, there's a lot, but the wide receiver room, DeAndre Hopkins has been phenomenal, and there is no taking away from that, and he's expected to be back next season, obviously, but then you got Treylon Burks. I mean, I hate to keep beating a dead horse in this situation, but he's just not been able to live up to anything in the last couple of years because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And in my eyes, I would think, Nate, that means you're not able to build off your play and get better because you're just not out there.
Mm-hmm. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Kayla. Here's the problem on both sides. Respectfully, Treylon may be a great guy. He may be one of the coolest guys that you'll ever met. But this game is not built on being a good guy. This game is not built on being a cool guy. This game is about production. This game is about showing up on Sundays. This game is about durability. This game is about reliability. And none of those things, unfortunately, we've been able to get out of Treylon. For me, as you stated, whether you're able to make big plays or not, that happens. I've seen guys make heck of a plays. I've seen guys drop wide open balls, when it comes to receiving. So I understand that the plays are going to come regardless. But the biggest disappointment, I guess you could say, on my end is his availability. I know things happen, injuries happen that, just are you can't play through. I get it. I understand, if your leg's broke, obviously you can't run. If you got a concussion and your head swirling, obviously you can't even see straight. So how can you go out and block someone? I understand those things. But as a first-round draft pick, in my opinion, and I don't care what headlines this makes, Treylon Burks has not been a number one draft pick. I don't care how we got him as a number one draft pick. We could still have A.J. Brown right now. But if we had traded Treylon Burks in the first round, it doesn't matter. He has not lived up to that draft pick. Why? Not necessarily because he hasn't made enough plays, but because he hasn't been available. And that is a issue for me. I come and I do my best to not judge these young guys on the old school standard. I do my best, man. But it bothers me because the only season I went over 1,000 in my whole career, I played on a high ankle sprain for 9 out of those 16 games. I couldn't even walk during the week. Coach Munchak didn't even allow me to practice. I didn't practice for the whole week and only played in the games. And that was my only season going over 1,000 yards. So for me, it's like, okay, cool. These things are happening. But for me, I don't see the dog in Treylon. I don't see it. And I don't mean making a big catch, getting up, pointing down the field, celebrating. I'm talking about the carry of the dog, the I want the ball, the I am the man, that everything goes through me mentality. As I stated, I think it was on you guys' show at the beginning of the year, Hop was going to be Hop. I knew Hop was going to come in and be reliable. I knew Hop was going to come in and do his job. But as I stated then, Hop is a number 2 receiver right now in this point of his career. He is a supporting cast. He has done everything he's supposed to, and that's no disrespect to Hop. Hop knows how I feel about him. But this is the position that he's in his career right now. Imagine if Treylon would have been that number 1 option with the support that Hop's been providing this year. But he hasn't. Not only has he not been that number 1 option, he hasn't even shown up. And in my opinion, I haven't even seen the will to show up. I haven't seen the passion. I haven't seen the drive to go out there and be what you were supposed to be. So in my opinion, it's bigger than getting him for A.J. Brown. It's about him not living up to his expectation as being the number 1 draft pick and being there to play football. This guy has been out since day 1. He missed almost the whole offseason his rookie year due to injuries. He almost missed half of the year last year due to injuries. I don't know the number of games he's missed this year, but it's frustrating because, as I stated, this isn't about dropping passes. This isn't about getting open. This is about simple availability. And as I'm sure Hop will be able to exclude to as well on this show, you cannot make the club in the tub.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
But what about
So
that
he
other part of
has
the
to-
equation, though, Nate? The relationship between quarterback and receiver, the trust factor. We know that
Yes,
Will
and-
Levis has this trust with D-Hop, of course. But the fact that he
Yes,
doesn't
no
necessarily
question,
find
Hop.
him consistently. Yeah, go talk about that a little bit.
No question. But as we both stated, you can't get relationship if you're not there, if you're not present.
Yep.
I'm sure from extra work after practice or extra work before practice, whether it's communicating about a route they've seen, whether it's communicating about something that didn't happen. The point is, with Hop being on that field, him and Will are able to communicate on a different level of understanding. Will understands what Hop is capable of. He knows him in and out his breaks. He knows what he's thinking on zone coverage. He knows what he's thinking on man-to-man. Those things are only able to happen if you put in the time and the work. That's not just, in-game reps. That's practice. That's after practice reps. That's watching film together. And Treylon it's impossible for Treylon to get the feel for Will and Will to get the feel for Treylon if they don't even have practice reps to go over. If they don't even have, film and clips of Treylon running routes and Will missing him so they can get an understanding of what is expected moving forward. These things are a problem because Treylon's not out there. He's not practicing. He's not playing in games. He's not doing any of these things. So that has to be Treylon's number one priority moving into this offseason. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you do it. Your body must be prepared to play not only in 17 games next year, but you must be reliable and accountable for training camp, for spring. That is important. You sharpen your tool in the off season. You use your tool during the season. And he's not sharpening his tool in the off season, in my opinion, and being prepared for National Football League. This is no longer Arkansas. You are no longer in college. You no longer have accounting on Monday. You have Mike Vrabel on Monday. So he has to understand that.
He is Nate Washington. Hey, we appreciate the transparency there. Incredible stuff today. And I believe you're going to be at the game on Sunday, right?
I will be there.
Let's go. Fourth quarter?
Looking forward to it.
Hey, we appreciate you, Nate. We'll see you on Sunday and see if the Titans can get that dub.
All right, Nate Dogg.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you. That is Nate Washington, former Titans wide receiver, not holding back when it comes to Treylon Burks. Let's react to that. We open up the phone lines, 615-747-1045. We want to hear what you think about Nate Washington, kind of just laying down the facts there. That's coming up next on RK Dub here on 1045 The Zone.